I've seen enough.
You are Locked On Hoosiers, your daily podcast on the Indiana Hoosiers. Part of the Locked On Podcast Network, your team every day.
Welcome in. It is the Locked On Hoosiers podcast. I'm your man, Jacob Goins. I appreciate you being here, making this your first listen each and every day. We are a part of the Locked On Podcast Network, which is your team every day. Today's episode is brought to you by FanDuel. Make every moment more. New customers join today, and you'll get $150 in bonus bets if your first bet of $5 or more wins. Visit FanDuel.com/LockedOn to get started. Well, before we get into yet another depressing reaction episode, and I give you my full breakdown and takeaways from Indiana losing at home to Nebraska, I have to say thank you. Thank you to you, the watcher, the listener, the subscriber. If you're on the YouTube side of things, we hit 1,800 subscribers recently, and thank you so much for that. We continue to grow here at Locked On Hoosiers. So if you have not already, subscribe to the channel. It's free. It's easy. It takes one tap. That's it. Like the video as well. It shares it, gets it out to all the folks out there on the internet. Plus, if you're on the audio version, thank you as well for being here and making this your first listen each and every day. Indiana loses to Nebraska 85-70, and I've seen enough. I'm done. I've seen enough. This team has proven to me, they've proven to you, they've proven to the world, they've given up, they're done. This season is over. And you could see it in most of this game. We're going to get to the second half and what the first, 8 minutes were of that second half. But the rest of the game, the other 32 minutes, that showed me all I needed to see from the rest of this season and for this Indiana team. We've got that coming up for you. We've got likes and dislikes. And now what? Where do we go? I just don't know. That's all here on today's episode of Locked On Hoosiers. Final score from Assembly Hall, 85-70. Indiana loses by 15. Loses again at home to a Big Ten team. You also give Nebraska their first conference win on the road. So congratulations to us. We got to do that. So nice of us to let them get that on our home floor. You start looking at the breakdown of points and numbers and all that good stuff. Kel'el Ware had 17 points on 6 of 11 shooting, 5 of 13 from the free throw line. Yikes. Had 12 rebounds, though. He pulled in another double-double. He should every game, and he did so in this one. You had Mackenzie Mgbako, who scoring-wise had one of his better games. Shooting, not terrible. Three-point shooting wasn't good. But, man, there's nobody that shoots the ball more than this guy. It really is kind of crazy. When he gets it, there's a good chance he's shooting. And that's what he did in this game. He did have 22 points, though, and went 6 of 7 from the free throw line. Also had 7 rebounds in 38 minutes played. Malik Reneau, 6 of 7, 3 of 4 from the line, had 7 rebounds and 15 total points. Was in foul trouble yet again, which, I guess he's just going to have to work on that in the offseason because he clearly has not figured it out in this season. He also took a shot to the face, to the mouth, and just was on wrong place, wrong time, apparently. I guess that's how that works, and he just had to eat that, literally. You look around some of the other players. Trey Galloway had 8. CJ Gunn had 6 off the bench. Anthony Leo had 2 off the bench. And shocker, Gabe Cupps had another terrible night, had a horrible night offensively. 0 for from the floor, 0 for 6, 0 for 2 from three-point land, and 0 for 2 from the free throw line. Had no assists and no turnovers. He was just kind of out there running for fun, if you will. Got burned on defense tremendously all the time because you start looking at what Nebraska did, and yet again, it was the Tominaga game. In the first half was where he scored most of his points, did most of his damage in the first half, where Nebraska was up by 20 at the half. It was 51-31. The Boo Birds rained down. Students left the building. They were done. They were out of there. They'd rather go home and study than to watch our Indiana Hoosiers, and I don't blame them. I've seen enough. I'm over it. This team is clocked out, checked out. They're ready to be done with the year. They're fine if they don't make the NCAA tournament, which they won't. They're okay if they don't make the NIT tournament, which guess what? There's a decent chance they don't make that either. And I think this team would rather be home. I think they'd rather be anywhere else than inside the gym with a basketball in their hands and being barked at by Mike Woodson. And it's sad to see. It really is sad to see. I saw people talking before this game, you the fan, saying, oh, how far Indiana has fallen. We're underdogs at home versus Nebraska. Well, this is why. This is why. It's performances like this that we've seen all season long that just really get on my nerves and get under my skin, because this brand deserves more. Our fan base deserves more. Our program deserves more. And this is pathetic. It's bad. It's really, really bad. And I know that there have been injuries and bumps in the road, and it's been an up and down year. I get that 100%. But man, outside of that 8-minute stretch to start the second half, which we're going to get to in likes and dislikes, this was a pitiful performance, embarrassing performance. And you could just tell they didn't want to be there. They didn't care. They were done. They're ready to go home. They're ready for the season to be over. And that's a sad thing to watch, man. I'm not saying just for us as Indiana folks. I'm saying just in general. That is a sad thing to see in a sports team. You see it in football in those last couple of games. You're seeing it in basketball right now with this Indiana team. Like it's just, you have no explanation because you can't motivate them. You cannot get them hyped up. You can't get them ready to go because they simply don't care. They know it's over. They know they're not a good team. They know they have nothing to play for. So they just clocked out, punched the card, and they're done. They're out of here. And they're just showing up to get through those 40 minutes and be done with it. And you could see it. And believe it or not, again, we'll talk about this in likes and dislikes in a second. You could see at the end by the lack of effort from Trey Galloway on the baseline drive from Tominaga, who just laid it up and in right past him on the reverse. Mike Woodson let him have it. And I'm surprised, but I think that was more out of just frustration and like, what the heck are you doing? Why are we playing like this? And you could see the frustration just from everybody inside the building at Assembly Hall. And I've seen enough. I mean, it's over. It's over. I don't know what to say moving forward. This is a raw reaction. Game just ended a few minutes ago. I don't know what to tell you because the season has just crashed and burned. This thing, the ship has come through the atmosphere. It's burnt to pieces, and we're just a couple of games from finally hitting the earth, plummeting through the ground, and having to pick it out and rebuild for next year. Whether that's a new coach, new players, all the above, I don't know. We're going to have to figure that out. But an 85-70 loss to Nebraska on your home floor for us as Indiana folks is not okay and not acceptable. Coming up on Locked On Hoosiers, we'll talk about the likes and many dislikes from this game as Indiana loses to Nebraska 85-70. That's coming up on Locked On Hoosiers. Today's episode of Locked On Hoosiers is brought to you by eBay Motors. Passion, drive, and patience. What brings home the winning trophy is also what keeps your ride or die alive. eBay Motors has everything you need to maintain your vehicle and level it up to peak performance. From superchargers, roof racks, exhaust kits, LED headlights, and more. Whether you're into speed, power, or style, eBay Motors has got you covered. With over 122 million parts for your number one ride or die, you'll always find exactly what you're looking for. And with eBay's Guaranteed Fit, your part is guaranteed to fit your ride every time or your money back. Because with eBay Motors, you're burning rubber, not cash. With all the parts you need at the prices that you want, it's easy to turn your car into the MVP and bring home that win. Keep your ride or die alive at ebaymotors.com. Eligible items only. Exclusions apply. eBay Guaranteed Fit only available to U.S. customers. Welcome back into Locked On Hoosiers. I appreciate you being here, making this your go-to spot for all things Indiana athletics. And again, thank you so much for 1,800 subscribers. If you're not one of those, help us out. Hit the button. It's one tap. Super easy. That's it. You're done. We appreciate you doing that on the YouTube video. Indiana loses to Nebraska 85-70, and we do it every time. Likes and dislikes from this game for Indiana. And as has been the case for, since December, a lot more dislikes than there are likes in this game. You start looking at the team statistics here. Nebraska shot 49%, a lot of that in the first half. Indiana shot 43%, a lot of that in the second half. And let's start right there. You cannot go down by 20 on your home floor in the first half. You give up 51 points to an above average offensive team, I'd say, in Nebraska. And guess what? You let Tominaga do his thing again. You let him burn you again. Why? Because Indiana's guards are atrocious. Our guards are terrible. They can't play ball. They can't score. They can't defend. They can't run. They can't move their feet. They can't make simple basketball plays. And guess what? Guys like Tominaga tear them apart. And that's exactly what he did in this basketball game. From three, look, Nebraska was scorching hot. They hit 14 threes in this game. What do you do? What do you do? I mean, you get a team like Nebraska that loves to shoot the three. That's a very streaky three-point shooting team. And you get a team in Indiana that they couldn't defend the three if their mother's lives were on the line there. And that's exactly what Nebraska exposed in this game tonight. 14 of 33. Indiana just 4 of 21. That's a big problem, too, is the lack of three-point shooting. We've talked about that. A major dislike is you're down by 20, and you feel like there's no possible way to come back. Now, Indiana did come back. We're getting into that in just a second. Turnovers, believe it or not, weren't all that huge in this game. Nebraska had 8, Indiana had 10. That's about average. That's fine. Points off turnovers, 15-6. So you lose that battle by 9. So Nebraska is able to take advantage a little bit more than you are. But I didn't feel all in all that was a major, major concern. We won the rebounding battle. Isn't that a miracle? We won the rebounding battle because Nebraska was a little slim down there. And you look at points in the paint, we always dominate that. Bench points, we always get blown out there, 23-8 in this game tonight. And you look at this as another disappointment for Indiana. And you go into the locker room and you're down by 20. All right, you're down by 20, 51-31. And you're thinking, well, this is going to be a brutal 20 minutes. Here we go, right? Let's just that same way the players are thinking, let's just get this over with. Let's move on. Let's go listen to Locked On Hoosiers and see what that crazy guy Jacob's got to say. And then all of a sudden, for the second straight game, the Hoosiers come out of the locker room motivated and on fire and excited, energetic. And they go on a quick run, 11-0, 20-3, bam, just like that. They go on a massive run. And they cut this thing, not just single digits. It's a ball game we had on our hands. And we're thinking, where in the world did this come from? How in the world did Indiana just come out of this second half or come out of the first half, come out of the locker room and just all of a sudden cut it into a single digit semi-possession basketball game? You got it all the way down to a 3-point game, 59-56 with 11:27 to play. And I'll be honest, at that point, before all of that happened, I had my show planned, had the narrative ready. I had the whole shebang. I was set in stone. This is how I felt. I was coming on here and we were going to let it rip. Then all of a sudden, this started happening. And I was like, hold up. Wait a minute, something just ain't right. Indiana started to make a comeback. Well, don't worry, we blew it. That didn't last very long. About 5 minutes later, that's all it took. Nebraska started hitting shots. We went back to playing old Indiana basketball, and that was it. And Indiana ended up losing by 15. Again, I love the second half fight. But just imagine if you get that second half fight, if you already had the lead, or if you're only down by 5, or if the game is tied, God forbid, you get that fight in the second half, man, you're winning ball games. You're winning basketball games. But instead, we had to use that massive run to overcome, well, try to overcome. We never did take the lead. Try to overcome a 20-point deficit. That's such a tall task. That's such a hard thing for a team to do mentally, night in and night out. And yeah, it's a battle night in and night out. If you were to get that in a closer ball game, you probably win. And you let Nebraska come in, play pretty good, not over the top great, but by the end of it, they played well. They played good for 30 minutes of the game, and they avoided a bad loss. Can we establish that when we are on the schedule, when a team in conference play right now sees Indiana, that is a game that they must win. Why? Not because they're going to get any street creds for it. It's because they'll get dragged through the yard if they lose it. That's where we are right now. Indiana is a bad loss for any team on the schedule. That hurts, doesn't it? That hurts to hear. That hurts to say. That hurts me, a guy that loves this team and loves this program so much. It's hard to accept that, but that's where we are. And I dislike that wholeheartedly. I hate that. But that's it. You could see it. Guys are lazy. Guys are sold out. They're done. They're over it. I'm not, and I hope you're not either. But it's really hard to support and be there and get up every game and get up every day on a show like this, and for you to be a fan every day like we are and support this program that's just fallen so far. It's fallen so far, and it's so exhausting to get up and see the same result every single time and see the same process every single time. I dislike that a lot because it's the same offense, it's the same defense, it's the same rotations. Yeah, CJ Gunn and Anthony Leo played a little bit more tonight. Whoop-de-doo. Whoop-de-doo. Look what good that did. It doesn't matter when you're running the same sets night in and night out and praying to the God above that it's going to work. That's not going to get it done. Not in this conference, not in this year, and not in this state. Final segment coming up on Locked On Hoosiers. Now what? What now? I don't know. We're going to talk it out. We're going to figure something out. You've got a couple of games. Try to start building for the future. Or maybe Indiana really does take this whole Mike Woodson thing into consideration and move on from the Indiana legend head coach. We'll talk about all that coming up in the final segment of Locked On Hoosiers. Today's episode of Locked On Hoosiers is brought to you by FanDuel. Get buckets with your first bet on FanDuel, America's #1 sportsbook. Because right now, new customers get $150 in bonus bets with any winning $5 bet. Hey, if you would have bet $5 on Nebraska on FanDuel at your first time, you would have won $150. You think you knew that was coming? Well, jump on FanDuel and you can bet against the Hoosiers next time, or bet with the Hoosiers if you think they're going to win, whatever you think is going to happen, because that's $150 if your bet wins. Bet on all your favorite NBA players and teams with quick bets, exclusive props, live same game parlays, and much more. Just visit FanDuel.com/lockedon and shoot your shot. FanDuel, official sportsbook partner of the NBA. Welcome back into the final segment on Locked On Hoosiers. I appreciate you being here, making this your go-to spot for all things Indiana athletics, and thank you for being an everydayer. I appreciate you. Times are tough when it comes to being an Indiana fan. Thankfully, we got the women's game, we got baseball, softball, spring football, all that stuff, but this is a reaction show to Indiana losing to Nebraska 85-70. And we try to answer this question and ask this question and answer this question every time. What now? Now what? Where do we go? What's happening? What can we expect moving forward from here? Well, I wouldn't think it'd be a whole lot. And coming up on a future show later this week, we'll have the comments from Mike Woodson on what he had to say following this loss. But I mean, in terms of your postseason and in terms of any, I don't know, big time wins or anything like that, it It doesn't seem like it's going to happen. And even with the schedule you have remaining, man, it gets a whole lot tougher compared. It gets tougher based off of what's been happening. You're at Penn State. I don't think I want to go there anymore after they beat Illinois, after the Fighting Illini blew a 7-point lead in the last minute of the game. Then you're home versus Wisconsin, which playing at home doesn't mean anything anymore. I've said this once and I'll say it again. It's not because of you, the fan. It's not because of those inside of Assembly Hall. This team just hasn't defended home court, and it hasn't given them any sort of advantage. And that's a good Wisconsin team. That's a borderline top 25 team. That's a top 4 or 5 seed in the NCAA tournament that I just don't think we want any part of. At Maryland, at Minnesota. So you're on the road. You haven't won very many games on the road this season in Big Ten play. You've got the win at Ohio State. You've got the win at Michigan. That's it. That's all you've got when it comes to road game wins in the Big Ten. And then you come home for Michigan State, another team fighting to make the NCAA tournament. We aren't fighting for it. And that's the question that I ask. That's the question that we're going to have to figure out is, what are we fighting for? What is this team playing for down the stretch? In these next, 5 games? Who steps up? Who says, look, let's finish this thing out strong. Let's get to the offseason. Let's see what we can add. Let's see what we can change. And let's see how we can make ourselves better. I don't care if these guys start trying to make themselves better individually just for them play selfish ball. Cool. Let's see what happens. Whether you're going to be here next year or whether you take off for another program, at least just want to be better. The only guy we've ever heard anything about in the offseason was Malik Reneau. That's the only guy we've heard overwhelming things about wanting to be better. These seniors, they don't want to be better. They haven't gotten any better. They're the same player they've been for the last 2 or 3 years. The injuries are a separate story. I understand that. And you've got a lot of young guys. I think Mackenzie Mgbako has gotten better through the year. I'm excited for the jump that he takes as a sophomore. I hope he hangs around. I hope he stays with this whole transfer portal era. We'll see. But then the Hoosiers have got to go get some people. And we're going to talk about that as the days and weeks go on of how can this roster improve. But I just want to find something to play for. I don't know. I don't know what it is. If it's the name on your chest, if it's the people in the stands, if it's so you can get a better, a better reel so you can go play somewhere else. I don't care. Just get better, be better, want to be better. And I look at Mike Woodson for that as well. And I say, how are you going to fix it? How are you going to fix it? Because it's obviously not good right now. It's actually pretty bad when you start looking at it. There's a chance you finish the year under 500, not in Big Ten play, as the whole in the overall season. If the wheels fall off and you go peeling off the cliff, you very easily could finish under 500 this season. That's not okay here. That's not okay here. So those are the things I'm looking for. I'm looking for a little bit of fight. I'm looking for a tiny bit of effort. And the things I saw tonight and the way I saw our team play tonight, I have no confidence in that. None whatsoever. And that is so disheartening as an Indiana fan, as an Indiana podcaster, as somebody that talks to you, the Indiana fans, because I want to preach positivity. I want to be excited and I want to give you hope, but I don't have it myself. And so you look at this and you're thinking, okay, all of these things need to improve. Let's find something. Let's find one thing to get better. Let's all group together as fans, you and me, and let's continue to support this team, because I'm going to do that. I'm going to support our team. I'm going to support our university. I'm going to support all the sports that we have here. But man, they make it hard sometimes, don't they? Especially when they come home and they lose a game to Nebraska 85-70. Well, that's going to do it for today's episode of Locked On Hoosiers. Again, I appreciate you being here. Thank you so much for making Locked On Hoosiers your first listen each and every day. Reminder, we are free wherever you get your podcast. No paywall, no paid for subscription. Everything is free. You can like the video on YouTube, subscribe to the channel, which is free. Just takes one tap of the thumb. And if you're on your audio platform, again, free and available wherever you get your audio podcast. We'll have an episode go up for you tomorrow, wrap up the week. We'll have a game coming up later against Penn State as well. So keep on tuning in for those. And thank you again for 1,800 subscribers on YouTube. Thank you so much for that. Hey, let's push for 2,000. Why don't we? We've grown a lot since I've gotten here. Let's continue to do that here at Locked On Hoosiers. And until tomorrow, Hoosier fans, stay safe, and I'll talk to you later.